8.3 પર હું છું ધ્વનિત અત્યારે મિર્ચીના સ્ટુડિયોમાં નથી અમદાવાદના રસ્તે ફરતા ફરતા તમારી સાથે વાત કરી રહ્યો છું અને એક એવી વ્યક્તિ સાથે વાત કરવા જઈ રહ્યો છું જેમણે પોતાની કરિયરમાં 365 માંથી 340 દિવસ માત્ર હોટેલના રૂમમાં સ્પેન્ડ કર્યા હોય અને એવા એક નહીં બે નહીં ત્રણ નહીં 6-7 વર્ષ સુધી આવું કામ કર્યું હોય મારી સાથે ટીમ ઇન્ડિયાના એક્સ ફિઝિયો જોન ગ્લોસ્ટર છે. ગુડ મોર્નિંગ સર.
Good morning. Wonderful to be here and fantastic to be back in Memnagar.
Did you understand anything that I just said about you?
Thoda.
Thoda.
Yeah.
So,
Alpa in Bengali, but no, fantastic. Yeah, and my road is my life has been on the road for many years. The majority of my last 18 years with international cricket has been on the road, but that's the sacrifice you have to make in order to contribute to a team.
340 days out of 365 is in a hotel room.
Yeah, between 320 and 340 on average a year for 7 years straight. So, but that's the life.
Didn't you miss your home?
I missed home, but fortunately at that point in my life I wasn't married. I think it's impossible to be married and to live that life. But
એક સરપ્રાઈઝ છે તમારા માટે. ટીમ ઇન્ડિયાના એક્સ ફિઝિયો જોન ગ્લોસ્ટર ની ગર્લફ્રેન્ડ ગુજરાતી છે.
Yeah, she was good. Now she's my wife. So yes, she's Palanpuri. Her father's Palanpuri. So yes.
What's her name?
Javeri. She's Tisha Javeri. Yeah. So
Disha Javeri. Tisha.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's so that's my Gujarati connection, and my Ahmedabad connection goes right back 12 years, obviously. And someone asked me yesterday, how many times have you been to Ahmedabad? Is this your first time? And I said, it's probably close to my 30th to 40th time to Ahmedabad. So I have a very big connection with Ahmedabad through Rajasthan Royals, obviously, for many years. Team India, schools, coming here talking to kids and communities about health and fitness. So I have a great relationship with Ahmedabad and with Gujarat on the whole.
How did you meet Tisha?
Tisha, we met on a flight actually. She was operating the England. She's a pilot.
Yeah.
She's the captain.
Love in the air.
Yeah. So she was operating the flight for the England-India series 2006. She was the captain on that flight. So that's how we sort of.
You never get to meet the captain. You just meet the air hostess. How do you meet the captain?
Well, in those days you could, because if the captain invited you into the cockpit, in those days you actually could go, but these days you can't. But I was very fortunate. So
Was it love at first sight?
I think for me it was. I'm not sure she was convinced at that time. I managed to win her over, and we've been married for 8 years now. So
Intercontinental marriage. How did you convince your father-in-law?
yeah, that was very difficult. But he said, after he met me the first time, he's very traditional, Gujarati Jain. He was very traditional, and he said, at the end of the day, all that matters is family. And he is family. You have a word for family. It is
Kutumb.
Yeah. He said that, that's it. He said that's more important than anything, and he has that. He comes from a good family, and that's all that matters. So he was very open-minded about this.
I thought he would have given you a test. Why don't you cook? Why don't you cook dokla for my daughter?
Oh dear, I had to eat it. I know that much. He made me eat it. But my son is probably more Gujarati than I am actually.
What's his name?
Ari. His name's Ari. He's 6 now, but he's grown up, obviously brought up in India now, and he definitely has a little Gujarati streak in him. Certainly when it comes to food, that's in his genes.
What is your favorite Gujarati food?
Well, I think the students found that out today, but always it has been as a little treat with Shrikant. It was always my little.
Did you say Shrikant?
Yeah.
Shrikant or Shrikant?
Shrikant was a good bowler. He was and a wonderful fellow. But I look at being back in Ahmedabad reminds me that there's some very important things about this country, and certainly about Gujarat and Ahmedabad in particular, is that we've refocused a lot on getting back to children and getting back to health and fitness and allowing kids to be kids again. And I've seen that every day over the last few days that I've been back in Ahmedabad. And to have an environment where it's encouraged for children to just be kids again. And to
How
be
do you do that with your son? See?
Yeah, and Bombay is very difficult. I told the kids this morning that the entire population of Australia is in Bombay. There's 22 million people in Bombay, and we struggle with that every day. And Australia is 2.5 times the size of India. But I've been blessed with space. But it just means we have to find a way to keep kids active, and that's our job, that's our responsibility. We have a duty of care for our children to expose them to movement and physical activity as much as we can within the constraints that we have. Fortunately, in Bombay, we're a member of some very good clubs in Bombay, Bridge Candy Club, CCI, these clubs. So we have that access, but not all other children do. So then it's the responsibility of the school to provide that opportunity.
Where are the schools with playgrounds?
You'll make a playground. And I've always said that children don't see walls. It's only adults that see walls. Kids will play anywhere and they'll make use of any space. You just give them any sort of space, they will use it. And that's the point that we've got to get across. Let's not restrict children. Okay? Give them a space, they'll use it, trust me.
A very valid point that you made. Mirchi 98.3 પર હું છું ધ્વનિત, મારી સાથે ટીમ ઇન્ડિયાના એક્સ ફિઝિયો જોન ગ્લોસ્ટર છે. In your days, there were senior players who were not considered good fielders, but after your stint with Team India, we have produced great fielders.
Yeah. Look, and I think we just had to turn the corner at some point. Unfortunately, I was in this environment at that time, and we encouraged players to push the boundaries physically. And by showing them that they could improve their performances with the bat or the ball, by doing so was how you get them across the line with that. And many of them took it upon themselves to improve and push each other. And you see it in the modern game. The modern game has changed so much, not on so much the technical side, but on the physical side, which has allowed them to express themselves better as technicians. Because your performance will be limited once you fatigue. Once you get tired, performance suffers as a bowler, as a batsman, in decision making. So we said, look, let's improve our physical performance, and then your overall performance will improve as well. And they bought that. They bought it on board. It was followed on beautifully with guys like, the current group of people involved with the team. Gary really took that up. Greg Chappell took that up. John Wright started it when I was there, and I saw Wright, Chappell, the Kirsten eras, and worked through that. And now look at it. Look at the guy that's leading the team at the moment. He set that example.
Virat Kohli. Yeah. More than he being a run machine, he is appreciated for his fitness.
Yeah, but you got to ask the question: why has he become a run machine? Because he's improved his fitness. He's able to stay at the crease longer. He can concentrate for longer periods of time. He doesn't get injured, so he's not out of the game. So these are the
That's
points.
really important, because for India's bowlers, right, what we've seen in last few years, that there is a fine bowler who's doing pretty good for himself, and then he comes there, gets injured, and goes out for a long period.
Yeah, and that's
so there is a spark of the performance, then you go out just because of the injury.
Yeah.
Like Mohammad Shami, for example, or Ashish Nehra.
Yeah, look, there's no use. You're no use to the team if you're injured. Simple. So our job is to make sure that they stay in the team and be available for selection.
But Team India has had a perennial problem with injuries.
Yeah, look, I think you can't blame the environment now. I think you've got to look at how that child was brought up, what they were exposed to when they were very young in terms of diet, what they were exposed to in terms of physical activity, how they were prepared as a child. Because I think that is a very, very part of the makeup. We now know that certain tissues in the body, like tendon tissue, if they're not exposed to certain stresses and strains as a child, they're unable to deal with those stresses and strains as an adult. Bone tissue behaves very similarly. So we now just need to start looking at what we're exposing our children to in terms of movement and motor competence, to allow them to be a better fit, stronger athlete when they get older. So that's the big picture. But of the smaller picture, the things like changing your diet is a very, very big way to improve performance and recovery and reduce injuries. And Virat Kohli removed two things from his diet which has done that, which is sugar and carbohydrates, or processed carbohydrates to be more specific. And look at the results. And that's not just him. The whole Australian cricket team has done that as well. Numerous other cricket teams around the world have done that, and it shows therefore in performance, and it shows in reduced injury rates, and that's the most important.
The cause for Team India is too many injuries. Do you think is it too much of cricket?
Look, that's the calendar, and we know what the future tour calendar looks like. So it's our job again to ensure that they are prepared for the loads of that upcoming calendar. That's our role. And it's all about preparation of those individuals. Then once they are within a series, our role then is to ensure that they are monitored closely enough from the load perspective to deal with that. And if it means rotating players, then you have to rotate players. So you'll probably see now with these longer tours more bigger squad sizes, and I think that has to happen as well. So the rotation policy, I think you'll see, will start coming into play more now in order to protect some of our key senior fast bowlers.
Australia was one of the first countries to start the rotation policy.
And look, again, you've got to ask the question: is it working? To a certain extent, yes, but Australia still has quite high injury rates. Excuse me, with in fast bowlers. So I don't think we've quite got it right yet, but I think we're on the way, and we're using technology more and more now to help us with that data accumulation to make these decisions. But we're always learning. We're always asking the question why. Why are things not improving as fast as we want them to? And we still need to go back to the research, go back to the data, and keep analysing, and hope that we can come up with some better questions for the future kids.
A lot of parents are watching you right now, listening to you right now on radio. One advice for Indian parents for raising the kids in a particular fashion to cope up with the international standards of sports, because Indian kids are a lot more deficient vis-a-vis nutrition as compared to other kids.
Yes. So nutrition is the key. You just said it then. Let's ensure that the children from the youngest possible age are getting the right nutrition and getting them away from this processed food factory that we're all in at the moment.
So you hate processed food?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of processed food, and I'm not a big
fan.
Are
you listening? All the parents, are you watching?
Because if you want to be an athlete, seriously, if you want to be an athlete, you have to remove sugar from your diet.
એટલે કુરકુરે નહીં આપી દેવાના એમ પિઝા ને પાસ્તા ને બર્ગર ને બધું નહીં ખવડાવવાનું ને ચોકલેટ ને કેક ને બિલકુલ નહીં શક્કર બિલકુલ નહીં.
Yeah, so I think that's where we've got to get smart, and we've got to understand there are so many hidden sugars in all the processed foods as well. So that's what we're going to get smarter about. And the other thing we're going to get smarter about, which is one of the reasons why I'm here also, is to get kids more what we call motor competent. Give them better motor or physical literacy skills as younger kids. Because if you give them those foundation skills of hop, jump, throw, catch, they will then be able to take up any sport at a later age and have less injuries. Because that is the key. If we expose them younger and put them through the stresses of those movement patterns, they will then have less injuries.
So instead of iPad or iPhone or tablets,
look, it's a technological age. We have to accept that kids are going to have that, but we've got to find that balance. We must find that balance. But we've also got to understand that technology can also help us.
Yeah, certainly.
With these kids as well. So let's look for balance. And the key for me, and again, it comes back to balance with kids. Let's get the right balance for those children, and you'll see some great results going forward.
Team India ex-physio John Gloster છે અત્યારે મારી સાથે. Some inside stories of the dressing room, because nowadays we get to see a lot of them on Insta and Twitter and Facebook. So we get to see a lot of pictures. But in those days, when we used to watch cricket as kids, we never used to get to know about the dressing room stories. But
yeah, what
some secrets.
Oh, yeah, what goes in the dressing room stays in the dressing room. That's the old saying. But look, it was an incredible environment, and successful teams build close. Close team dressing room environments, and I've been involved in some of the best teams, as you know,
and some of the best pranks.
Yeah, there are a lot of pranks. There's some good pranksters actually. Viru was a great prankster, and that's why Viru, Harbhajan, great pranksters. MSD in his own way was a funny boy, but what that meant was you were allowed to have fun, and fun wasn't suppressed, because it's like anything. If you take fun out of anything, you'll lose interest and performance will suffer. So fun was always encouraged, and in an open environment where juniors and seniors can have fun together, that's what you try and encourage in any environment, whether that be sport, business, social, school, fun and engagement. And I say that about kids as well. If kids are not having fun and they're not engaged...
Sachin Tendulkar involved in pranks?
Yeah, quietly, in his own way, but yes, absolutely. Sachin, there was another side to Sachin that the public very rarely saw, which was sad, because there's a very funny side to Sachin. He's a real foodie. He enjoys good wine. And he has quite a good sense of humour as well. So you got to remember, at the end of the day, these are real people. They're real people. They're like you and me.
Did he pull any fast one on you, and if you remember any of them, or any of the cricketers?
No, I think they knew. I think they knew not to mess with me too much. But it was all still fun, and it was all about creating a relationship where there could be communication. Because again, as a physio, communication is the key. If they can't feel that they can confide in you or communicate with you openly, then you've lost a very big part of being able to get that player ready, and physically or mentally. So. And part of that environment is created by having fun. And again, like I said, we all lived, for 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, we're all together. So you've got to accept that everybody's different, and there are some people that are going to annoy you, absolutely. And people do annoy each other. That's normal. It happens in families, it happens in business, it's in the community. But you need to find ways to overcome that in order to maintain that environment. And it's a great discipline for young boys to learn those skills of tolerance. And I think a dressing room is an environment where tolerance is something that can be taught and is taught, and then they take that on to other parts of their life as well.
Thank you very much for giving us so much of time and talking to Radio Magic.
My pleasure, absolute pleasure. And have a wonderful day, everybody.